Okay, Kelly, look, this lesson today is not that it's ridiculously hard, but it's just like different, and it makes you have to analyze it, okay? You need to think to yourself, like, does this make sense? Okay? We're gonna be graphing on a number line, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 examples on how to graph on a number line using absolute value. Now, just to remind you, what is absolute value? Absolute value is these bars, right? These two lines on the outside that mean that this thing, the absolute value of -3 is +3. The absolute value is just always positive. Whatever is in here is actually always positive for absolute value. And the reason that is because the definition for absolute value is how far away is it from the 0 on a number line, okay? So if you have -3 over here, how far away is it from the 0? It's 3 spaces from the 0, right? So it's 3 positive spaces from the 0. Absolute value, the negative doesn't count, okay? That's all that means with absolute value. The negative doesn't count. But that makes it a little tricky and a little crazy when we go to graph it. Okay? Because look, we would look at this thing right here. Let's say that this absolute value is greater than 2. The absolute value of x is greater than 2. If we did not have the absolute value signs, and we just take those off, this would be super easy to graph. We look at our domain as reals. That means any number, right? So we would just go to 2. We put 2 right here. I would open it because there's no equal to, but then I would just color this whole thing in. That's how I would do it if there were no absolute value signs. But now watch. First of all though, if I would do it this way, because that means that what? Any number over 2 is greater than 2. So what could be your possible solutions here? 3, 4, 5, 6. Anything is greater than 2, and this would be correct, right? Okay, but when I put absolute value signs there, it changes. Because now, what numbers can I put there? I'll show you on the number line. Anything less than -2. Why? Because watch. Give me one number less than -2, -3. If you take the absolute value of -3, what's it going to be? 3. Is 3 greater than 2? Yeah. Okay, take the absolute value of -100. What's the absolute value of -100? 100. Is 100 greater than 2? Yeah. So now you have to include your negative numbers in your graph because those will be greater than 2. The only numbers for the absolute value that won't be greater than 2 are 1, 0, and 1. Crazy, huh? Okay, so process that, analyze that, but there's going to be more examples to show you what it's all about, okay? Here we go, let's do another one. For me, it took me a while to get my head around it. Like, what in the world? Okay, so I have to think about now what negative numbers apply here. That's going to be a little difficult, right? Okay, now this time our domain is integers. It's integers. That means those are only your whole numbers. So you're going to see a lot of dots in your number line, but you can't just color in the whole thing because fractions and decimals don't count, okay? Now it's saying x, the absolute value of x is less than or greater than 3. Well, when it's less than or greater than, the first thing you're going to start with is 3. Right? And go this way. But here's the thing. How far can you go this way to get less than? You can only go to -3. Integer, 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 integer. Why only to -3? Because watch. Give me a number less than -3. Let's do -4. That's the value of -4 is 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 3? No, it's not. So it can only be from 3 to -3. Those are your answers. Okay, process and analyze it. And let's go on to example 3. Hopefully you're liking them because negative 3 is a fun one. I mean, example 3, pardon. Example 3 is a fun one. Okay, the absolute value of x is less than negative 4. Domain is real numbers, okay? It's less than negative 4. Okay. So what number on the number line, let's do negative 4 right here. What number on the number line is going to be less than negative 4? Nada. Why? Watch. Give me a number less than negative 4. Negative 5. What's the absolute value of negative 5? 5. Is positive 5 less than negative 4? No. The answer is nada. Absolutamente nada. And that's how you put it. 0 with a slash through it. Okay? Because there will never be an absolute value that's going to have the solution of less than negative 4. So that's all you can do is put no solution. Okay, so you put that 0 through the line through it, or you call it no solution. Okay, let's look at number 4. Okay, now it's what's the absolute value that is greater than negative 4? And it's all real numbers. The absolute value of greater than negative 4. So what number on the number line is going to have an absolute value of greater than negative 4? All of them. All of them. Why? You literally color the entire thing. Because any number, let's say it's negative 2,000. That's the value of negative 2,000 is 2,000, so it's greater than negative 4. That's the value of negative 1 is 1. That's greater than negative 4. That's the value of negative 4 is 4. That's greater than negative 4. Everything is greater than negative 4. So the answer is every number. Crazy, right? Alright, okay, let's look at example 5. Okay, negative absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 2. The domain is real numbers. And this is the one that's going to hurt our head. Because now look, okay, we have our negative 2 right here, right? We're going to put a circle there because that's what the equal sign equals. Now it has to be x, the negative, okay, let's see. Then the absolute value of x, and then take the negative of that, is going to give you greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, that means that it cannot be, it can't be anything less than negative 2. This is why. If it's negative 3, watch, that's the value of negative 3 is 3, but then you put a negative in front of it, and negative 3 is not bigger than negative 2. So no number over here is going to work. Okay? But watch, no number beyond 2 is going to work either. So it's going to have to be these numbers in between. Because you also can't put a 3 there. What's the absolute value of 3? 3. What's negative 3 is not bigger than negative 2. So it can't be anything less than negative 2, and it can't be anything greater than positive 2, so it has to be just in between. Okay? Let's look at the next one. Example 6. Example 6 throws a little bit of algebra in there. Okay, integers is your domain. Okay, the very first thing you have to do is you have to solve for this x. Okay, you have to solve for this x. Okay? So, what are you going to do? You're going to move this over here as plus 2, so it's going to be negative absolute value of x is greater than negative 3, okay? Then you're going to divide by negative 1. When you divide by a negative number, Kelly, you have to flip this sign. So your answer is really going to be absolute value of x is less than 3, okay? The absolute value of x is less than 3 because you flip the sign. And then we already know what that's going to be. It's going to be negative 3 here and positive 3 here. But watch, the negative 3 and the positive 3 are not included because there's no equal there, right? So you just fill in these. Okay? Let me show you again example 5 because there is an easier way to do that. When you see that there's a negative in front of that absolute value sign, you can also solve for x there and flip your sign. So look at 109.5 again. You could say negative absolute value of x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So you could go divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. Its absolute value of x is less than or equal to positive 2, which is going to give you the number line of what? Negative 2, positive 2. These are included because it's equal, and everything in between. Okay? Go ahead and try letter A and letter B, and let's check our answers. Okay, Kelly, if you look in the back of your book, you're going to see that the answer to letter A, it just has the 1, 0, and negative 1 colored in. But that's because the negative 2 and the 2 don't even count. So instead of putting the open circles, because it's an integer, they just start at 1. Because that's the very first possible answer, okay? So it's either way you want to do it there. But what do? We move the 9 over here, it's negative 11 plus 9 is negative 2. We have negative absolute value, so we divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, so we have flip the sign. The absolute value of x is greater than 2. Well, that means that all the numbers oh, pardon, I didn't flip the sign, I was like, wait a second. All the numbers less than 2, but greater than negative 2 are going to work because anything past negative 2 is going to be negative 3. That's the value of negative 3 is 3, and that's not less than 2. So only these numbers work in between. But then this one over here is really easy. The absolute value of x is greater than 0. Every number counts. Every number is going to be greater than 0 when it's going to be positive. Okay? But come on, if you have any questions, let me know and we can do these problems together because it is confusing because there's a lot of analysis and a lot of times on these, you don't feel comfortable with it until you know the answer. Then you're like, oh, well, that makes sense, but I didn't know how to get it by myself. So just let me know. Okay, bye, Kelly.